Hello and good morning, friends. Reinvention does not require a new life. It requires a new lens. Every day, you wake up carrying yesterday's weight, mistakes, doubts, unfinished dreams. But every morning also carries an invitation to meet yourself again, without judgment. Self-reinvention is not about erasing who you were. It is about honoring who you are becoming. You do not need a dramatic transformation. You need small, conscious shifts, the courage to ask, what version of myself will I choose today? Some days, reinvention looks like strength. Other days, it looks like rest. Both are valid. Both are necessary. The world often teaches us to define ourselves by one moment, our failure, our pain, our success. But a human life is not a single chapter. It is a story written daily, with choice after choice. Daily reinvention begins with awareness. Noticing the thoughts you repeat, the habits you follow without question, the beliefs that no longer serve the person you are becoming. When you pause and listen inward, you reclaim authorship of your life. Reinvention requires compassion. You cannot punish yourself into growth. Change rooted in shame never lasts. Change rooted in kindness becomes sustainable. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love, with patience, honesty, and hope. Some days reinventing yourself means letting go of expectations that were never yours, of timelines that create pressure instead of purpose, of identities built to survive, not to thrive. Let go without guilt. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself. Reinvention is also about consistency, choosing alignment again and again, even when no one is watching, even when progress feels invisible. Growth is quiet before it becomes visible. Every time you choose courage over comfort, presence over panic, truth over fear, you reinvent yourself, not into someone unrecognizable, but into someone more authentic. You are not broken. You are unfinished, and that is a gift. Daily self-reinvention is not about becoming extraordinary. It is about becoming intentional. And when you live intentionally, even ordinary days carry meaning. So today, begin gently. Begin honestly. Begin again. You do not need permission to evolve. You only need the willingness to show up. One day, one choice, one breath at a time. That is how reinvention happens. Reinvention begins with awareness. Reinvention does not start with action. It starts with noticing. Before change can take shape, awareness must exist. Awareness of the thoughts you repeat in silence, of the habits you follow without questioning, of the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. Most people do not resist change. They simply live on autopilot. They wake up, repeat patterns, and call it destiny. But destiny is often just unexamined behavior. Awareness interrupts that cycle. It asks you to pause and observe rather than judge, to listen without immediately reacting, to recognize that the voice in your head is not always truth. It is often habit. When you become aware, you reclaim choice. You realize that not every thought deserves belief. Not every emotion requires action. Not every pattern defines your future. Awareness is a gentle courage. It allows you to look at your life honestly, without self-attack, to acknowledge where you are without labeling it as failure. This is where reinvention quietly begins. You start to notice what drains you and what nourishes you, what aligns with your values and what contradicts them, what you hold on to out of fear, not love. With awareness comes responsibility, not blame but ownership. Ownership of your reactions, of your boundaries, of the energy you allow into your inner world. Awareness teaches you to respond instead of react, to choose presence over panic, to pause long enough for wisdom to speak. You begin to understand that growth does not demand perfection. It asks for honesty. Some realizations will feel uncomfortable. They will challenge the identity you have been protecting. But discomfort is not a sign you are failing. It is a sign you are awakening. Awareness creates space, and in that space, new choices become possible. Reinvention does not require becoming someone else. It requires seeing yourself clearly, without illusion, without fear. And once you see clearly, you can no longer live unconsciously. That is the power of awareness. It does not force change. It invites it. And that invitation, accepted daily, becomes transformation. You are allowed to begin again daily. There is a quiet freedom in knowing that yesterday does not own today. So many people live as if one mistake has written their entire story, as if one wrong turn has closed every door. But life does not move in straight lines. It moves in cycles, in seasons, in chances to return and renew. Beginning again is not failure. It is wisdom. Each morning offers a reset. Not because you were weak yesterday, but because you are human. Growth is not about never falling. It is about not surrendering to the fall. You are allowed to wake up and choose differently, to speak more gently, to act more honestly, to let go of what no longer fits the person you are becoming. This permission is powerful because it breaks the myth that you must carry guilt as proof of growth. You do not heal by punishing yourself. You heal by choosing better with what you now understand. Beginning again requires humility. It asks you to admit that you are still learning, still unfinished. And that is not a weakness, it is life. Some days, beginning again looks bold. New boundaries, new decisions, new courage. Other days it looks quiet, forgiving yourself. Resting instead of forcing progress. Breathing through uncertainty instead of escaping it. Every restart is an act of hope. Hope that you are more than your past. Hope that growth is possible even now. The world may remind you of who you used to be. But you are not required to live there anymore. Beginning again daily teaches resilience. It reminds you that identity is not fixed. It is formed, choice by choice, moment by moment. You do not need a dramatic reinvention to move forward. You need consistency in returning to yourself. Each new beginning strengthens trust within you. Trust that no matter how many times you stumble, you will meet yourself with courage instead of condemnation. And over time, these daily beginnings add up. They become character. They become confidence. They become a life lived with intention. So today, give yourself permission, not to be perfect, but to begin again. That permission may be the most powerful step you take. Kindness sustains change that begins in harshness rarely lasts. You cannot build a better self on the foundation of self-criticism. Many people believe they must be strict with themselves to grow. That growth requires pressure, punishment, or constant dissatisfaction. But this belief creates exhaustion, not evolution. Kindness is not complacency. It is clarity without cruelty. When you treat yourself with compassion, you create safety within. And safety allows honesty. Honesty allows growth. Keenness teaches you to acknowledge your flaws without becoming defined by them. It allows you to say, I made a mistake, without adding, I am a mistake. Lasting change requires patience. Habits take time to form. Healing takes time to unfold. Becoming takes time. When kindness guides the process, you are more likely to continue, even on difficult days. You stop abandoning yourself when progress feels slow. You learn to stay. Kindness also reshapes your inner voice. Instead of judgment, you hear encouragement. Instead of pressure, you feel permission. This does not make you weaker. It makes you resilient. A kind inner dialogue allows you to reflect without fear, to take responsibility without shame, to grow without losing yourself. When setbacks come, and they will, kindness becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded instead of defeated. It reminds you that falling does not erase effort. Kindness sustains consistency because you are more likely to show up for someone you respect. And self-respect grows where kindness lives. This approach changes how you move through the world. You become less reactive, more intentional, more patient with yourself and with others. Kindness is not an excuse to remain unchanged. It is the environment in which meaningful change survives. Speak to yourself with dignity. Allow room for learning. Choose encouragement over shame. Because when kindness becomes your practice, growth becomes sustainable. And sustainable growth is the kind that lasts. Letting go is a form of strength. Strength is often misunderstood. It is not always about holding on. Sometimes it is about releasing what no longer serves your growth. Letting go requires courage because it asks you to loosen your grip on what feels familiar, even when it hurts, even when it has shaped your identity. We hold on to roles, expectations, and versions of ourselves out of fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of uncertainty, fear of not knowing who we will be without them. But growth demands space, and space is created through release. Letting go is not rejection of your past. It is respect for your future. You are allowed to outgrow dreams that once kept you alive. You are allowed to step away from narratives that no longer reflect your truth. You are allowed to choose peace over proving yourself. Strength shows up when you stop forcing alignment with what drains you. When you stop explaining your evolution to those who cannot understand it. When you trust that becoming more authentic may cost you comfort, but gain you clarity. Letting go may feel like loss at first, but what you gain is lightness, energy, freedom. You stop carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be permanent. This release teaches self-trust. It tells you that you are capable of navigating uncertainty, that you do not need control to feel secure. Some endings are quiet, some are painful, but every release creates room for something truer to enter. Letting go also changes how you relate to failure. You stop clinging to outcomes. You focus on alignment instead. Strength is choosing growth even when it requires change, even when it requires saying goodbye to a version of yourself you once needed. You are not betraying who you were. You are honoring who you are becoming. And in that release, you find a deeper, steadier power. Not the power to endure everything, but the wisdom to choose what is worth carrying. Consistency shapes identity. You do not become who you wish to be in one moment of motivation. You become who you practice being daily. Identity is not formed by grand decisions made once. It is shaped by small choices repeated quietly, often unnoticed. Consistency is not about intensity. It is about presence. It is choosing alignment even on days when energy is low. It is showing up without needing applause. It is doing the work when no one is watching. This is how character is built. Every time you choose patience over impulse, integrity over convenience, truth over fear, you reinforce the person you are becoming. Consistency teaches trust, not in outcomes, but in yourself. You learn that you can rely on your effort even when results are delayed. Progress often hides before it reveals itself. Growth happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Consistency keeps you going when evidence is scarce. It also reshapes discipline. Discipline becomes an act of care, not control. A commitment to your values rather than a battle with your willpower. Some days, consistency looks strong. Other days, it looks gentle. Both count. You do not lose progress because you move slowly. You lose progress when you stop showing up. Consistency builds emotional resilience. It steadies you through uncertainty. It anchors you when motivation fades. Over time, your actions begin to match your intentions, and your intentions begin to feel natural rather than forced. This is how identity evolves. Not through dramatic transformation, but through quiet devotion. Be patient with the process. You are not behind, you are building. Every small, consistent step carries weight. And one day, you will look back and realize you did not just change your habits, you changed yourself. Becoming intentional is the true transformation. Transformation is often imagined as something dramatic, a moment that changes everything, a breakthrough that arrives loudly. But real transformation is quiet. It happens when you begin to live on purpose. Intentional living means choosing awareness over autopilot. It means asking yourself why before saying yes. It means aligning your actions with your values, even when it is inconvenient. Becoming intentional is not about controlling life. It is about responding to it with clarity. When you live intentionally, you stop drifting. You begin directing your energy toward what matters. You recognize that time is not just passing, it is shaping you. Intentionality teaches discernment. You learn when to engage and when to step back, when to speak and when to listen, when to push forward and when to pause. This clarity reduces noise. External pressure loses its power when internal purpose is strong. Living intentionally also deepens self-respect. You stop betraying yourself for approval. You stop ignoring your needs to meet expectations. You begin honoring your truth. This is not selfishness. It is sustainability. Intentional people are not perfect. They are present. They accept responsibility for their choices without becoming consumed by regret. Every intentional decision reinforces self-trust. It reminds you that you are capable of navigating your life with wisdom. Transformation does not require you to become extraordinary. It asks you to become aligned. When intention guides your life, reinvention becomes natural. You adjust without losing yourself. You evolve without abandoning your values. And slowly, the life you once wished for begins to take shape. Not because everything changed, but because you did. This is the truest form of transformation. Not loud, not rushed, but deeply rooted. And when you live this way, each day becomes meaningful. Not because it is perfect, but because it is chosen. You do not have to become someone else to move forward. You only have to meet yourself with honesty and intention. Every day gives you another chance to choose alignment over fear, presence over pressure, growth over regret. Reinvention is not about perfection. It is about showing up again and again with courage and kindness. Let your journey be gentle. Let your progress be real. Let your choices reflect the person you are becoming. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow. You are allowed to begin again. And when you do, remember this. The most powerful transformation is not loud. It is intentional. Begin today. Begin calmly. Begin with belief. You are already on your way.